My name is Susan Sharman. I'm the marketing director here at the Marin Museum of Contemporary Art. And we are in our second floor gallery with Jeff Downing and his exhibition titled Level Up, a Sculptural View of Sea Level Rise. Jeff has been MarinMOCA's artist in residence for the past year, and this exhibition here is his culmination of a year or more worth of work. And we're going to turn this over to Jeff, and I want to have him talk a little bit about his inspiration for these particular pieces and the installation he did in Richardson's Bay a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, well, the initial inspiration came to me. I was invited to an artist residency in Mexico near the city of Morelia, and it was land art themed. Environmental land art themed, and the project I came up with was about drought. There was a lake on the property where we were installing pieces, and I saw pictures of the lake, and I asked the executive director about the lake and how's the lake doing, and he said that the lake is full when we'll be in residence, but it also dries up. So I made a piece about drought and about water going out of the lake. So initially I installed work in the lake, and then the lake water dropped on it. When I came back to the Bay Area, I was still interested in doing pieces that related to water, but I thought about almost the opposite, rather than water going down, water going up, because we live in a coastal area here and we're affected by sea level rise. So I came up with a project to do these markers, and these are based off of tidal markers. For my first research, I was looking at how are people aware of sea level rise? What have our municipalities done, or things like that, to let us know what's happening? And there was a few installations. There's one in Marin near Mill Valley. It's really a blue pole, and then there's one in San Francisco. I think it's a red and white pole, but it's not a very exciting thing. So most people just pass it by. So I thought, why don't I make a sculpture that gauges sea level rise and also is an interesting thing to look at and eye-catching. So I came up with these markers. This is a set of 5. These are modeled after the ones I did in Mexico, but they're different, of course. And then people always ask me about the tops. These tops are sort of loosely based off of navigational markers. I grew up on the East Coast, and I was a boater there, and navigational markers are really distinct in what they mean, by how they look like, whether there's a rock or a channel or something. So these are sort of loosely gauged off those, but there's also some imaginative parts of it, things I just made up. So these ones I was going to make for the king tides that just happened 2 weeks ago, and I installed them in the Richardson Bay, and everything was great, attracted a lot of attention. But I wanted to have something to experiment with before coming up to 2020, where we had king tides. When I first got the residency here in January, we had a 2019 king tides, and I wanted to participate in that, but I didn't have these ones ready. So I made these models. These are just made out of wood over here. This is just painted wood, and very simple, and there's a cinder block under there holding it up. So they're very simple, but I wanted them to be portable so that I could take them around in areas that get inundated with the high tides and move them around quickly so I could photograph them and sort of capture the best place where they could be photographed. That's where some of these images are here on the wall, of places where I photographed the pieces. And this, it was sort of a plan to see where I would get the most attention from putting these things, who would stop. And there was one spot in Mill Valley where it's a bike path and a pedestrian path, where a lot of people, when they saw me doing it, they stopped because I was catching attention. I was out in the water with boots, actually putting them out and taking pictures, and they asked what was I doing? And I said, well, I'm making sculpture to raise awareness about sea level rise. So I found a pretty good location for when I took these out. These are a little bit more of an operation. This one takes 5 minutes to put up. This one takes 2 hours because I have to bring, the ceramic pieces are rather heavy. The whole piece probably weighs about 250 pounds. But I have to bring it out piece by piece and put it together. I have to first get it into the marsh. And I usually find a spot where it's just clear, it's mud, no plant life or anything, and just put them in there. And then I put the bases in, level the base, and then I stack and level as I go up. You notice these are zip ties. This is so I can quickly attach them. I pre-put the zip ties in, so I just put it together and plug the zip tie and pull it together, like snap it together. ultimately on the inside of all my work, there's a bolting system. So if you take the top off, you can get the bolts all the way through and bolt it in for more permanent installation. But this is for a quick, just quick, put it together. The tides come up, it's a short event, it's like a 4-hour show. Part of it is a performance, the installing and deinstalling. And then the show goes up, and then the tide comes up, tide goes down, and I take it out, and I'm done. Everything, it's like I wasn't even there, except for the attraction that it caused. And when I did the last King Tides event 2 weeks ago, I brought out some informational signs that I made that are in the front of the gallery that talk about, one of them talks about sea level rise, and then what is it, what causes it, what can we do about it? And then the other one is about King Tides, and that's not related to sea level rise, but it's an effect. It in effect shows us what the tides will be like in the future. When we have a King Tides, which is caused by the moon, it's an unusually high tide. So when we get that in this area, we get them twice a year in the wintertime. When we get that, it kind of gives us a glimpse of what sea level will be like, what a normal high tide will be like in the future. And then, of course, we'll have King Tides on top of that, storm surge on top of that. So it really affects the coastal areas drastically, especially marshlands, where there are marshlands here in Marin County that will be covered with water, and they won't be habitat for birds anymore. So, and there's no more inland marshland because there's nowhere else for them to go. So they're going to have to relocate to another place. And of course, roads. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be flooding of homes, businesses, and that's this area. But it's actually a global issue. So I sort of concentrate on this area because it's an area I can study readily. So anyway, so I think it's a great show. I think there's a lot of information in here. So if you come see, there's documented photographs of all the events that I did with my markers, and I think you'll learn a lot and be surprised that sculpture can really be talking about something like an environmental issue that we're facing right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate your time today. And I do encourage all of our viewers to come see this fascinating exhibition. It's on view now through December 24th. The museum is open Wednesday through Friday, 11 to 4, and Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 5. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.